So let's revisit this question. Are the Spurs ahead of schedule?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Happy Friday. Welcome back to Locked On Spurs here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for KENS 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you all back in TGIF. Everybody, yeah, you made it through the week. But let's close it out strong right here on Locked On Spurs, your first and only spot for all things San Antonio Spurs. Find us on the KENS 5 Plus app, YouTube, iTunes, Spotify. And when you go to YouTube, make sure you subscribe and leave a comment. We might read it in a future episode of Locked On Spurs like today. Yeah, we're going to do that as well. So, as you can see on your screen, yeah, we'll be bringing up some fan comments, talk a little bit about the NBA playoffs. But the big question on today's show is, are the Spurs ahead of schedule? Now, you might be asking, like, well, Jeff, didn't you talk about this a few months ago or something like that? Well, things have changed, right? A lot of things have changed. One, the Spurs traded for De'Aaron Fox. Two, Fox and Wemby should technically be back 100% healthy, right? Oh, by the way, this coming Monday, we'll find out exactly where they pick on the draft lottery. You know, they got 2 picks, so maybe that shifts things. And also the Koki search, yeah, it didn't even happen. They already got with Mitch Johnson. So you put that all together, you might be thinking, hey, wait a minute. Maybe this rebuild is going to end sooner than later, or maybe they're out of it right now. So let's talk about that with our guest, my good friend, Casey Vieira. Right here on Locked On Spurs. Follow him on X. You can see it on your screen at Casey_Vieira. But Casey, I added that for you. I don't know, Casey, you noticed that.
Thank you.
Give you a little.
There's the plug.
Yeah, there's the plug.
Hit that follow button, boys and girls.
Exactly. You want to do that right now and get to follow him on X at Casey_Vieira. By the way, I finally got used to saying X instead of Twitter now. It finally registered.
I'm not there.
Yeah, you're not there?
I'm not there. I don't know. I mean, I don't take offense if someone says X. I'm just kind of like,
yeah,
all right,
yeah,
cool, X.
All right, sure, yeah. This reminds me back in like in the
fine. All good.
This reminds me back in the 90s, like when they were making comic books. Everything ended with an X or a Z, like it's X-Force comic or Avengers with a Z. You know, something like that. So, you know, that's what it reminds me of. X is just like the brand new wave thing there.
It's actually pretty funny when you phrase it like that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, it's true. Yeah. Yeah, they use that trick a lot. It was X everything, X Force, X this, X Squad. Yeah. So, but anyway, welcome back, Casey. Glad to have you here.
And turned out to be a very profitable endeavor of a name for what it's worth.
Yeah. That is true. That is true. Yeah. Casey, again, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us here at Locked On Spurs. And let's start off with the big question here. Let's revisit it. As you heard in the intro, yeah, there's a lot of things have changed since we asked this question a few months ago about the Spurs being ahead of schedule. So you heard all the factors in there, from Wemby being 100%, trading for De'Aaron Fox. He's coming off surgery, so he should be okay. I didn't even bring up Stephon Castle and his progress just in year one, the rookie of the year. So we combine all that together. Casey, we got that. Are the Spurs ahead of schedule? I'm going to say yes, but let me hear what you got to say first.
They're certainly on schedule for sure, in my opinion, at minimum, because like you lay it out kind of where things were at the start of the season and what you expected this thing to look like at the end of the year. They came in off of a 22-win season. So you're thinking, okay, if we can get into that 34, 36 win range, and I think what Vegas say 28.5, wasn't that the number anyways to start the year too?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, so if we come in that 34 to 36 range, we'll feel good at the end of the year. So check that box.
Yep.
We're looking for Wemby to have some incremental step to maybe put himself in the conversation of a top 10 or not even top 10, probably top 15 player, because he probably closed the year, the end of last season, as a top 25 player for sure. So does Wemby make that next step that he's top 15? Check, because he's probably top 10 right now.
Right.
Does their draft pick prove to be a vital one? And have we seen that he can be a big piece of the process going forward? Check. No need for
Big,
me
big
so
check.
much
Yeah.
beyond. Yeah, check plus if we're talking about 90s. The next step is, do they do something with the 1,000,001 assets that they have to potentially fill a weak spot, which they did. Check another box. So 4 of those maybe of the things of the wish list that the Spurs fan, or just kind of, a reasonable thought process going into the start of the year, the 4 big question marks. If we're being fair, if we're looking at this from a broader picture, I guess kind of in a vacuum a little bit too, depending on the way you look at it, but the way, rationally thinking about this, they hit all of those markers. Now, I think on the other side of the spectrum, where it kind of gets lost and where you hit a little bit of a gray area, so to speak, was things started off so well and ended, I don't want to say poorly, but not great. And the Victor thing, of course, takes precedence going forward, because while everything seems to be trending in the right direction, as far as we know, we don't know in many respects. Like there's when we did the show last time talking, I forget the context, but I got ripped on your show last time for saying that that Victor very reasonably could miss 20 games of the season because we didn't know anything about it. I mean, the man had his whole situation play out, had surgery. Naturally, the next day is the day that soccer video in Costa Rica is released. So I'm like, okay, now I'm looking like a real idiot over here. I mean, there's a big difference between playing soccer with a bunch of 8-year-olds and banging in the paint with Andre Drummond or something like that. In terms of, that rehabilitation process, they probably look at it as some sort of light cardio of sorts. But that part of it, of course, put a big damper on the end of the year, without a doubt, considering they were playing so well in December. They were taking advantage of a favorable schedule. They were really riding high. And I think a lot of us, and I say us because I did myself feel this way, kind of got lost in that. Like, okay, like they really, really might be ahead of schedule here.
Sure.
We're not talking playing, like this might actually be a playoff team. But then you kind of regressed back to the means of what they were, and they showed inexperience. The head coach showed inexperience to no fault of his own. And ultimately, the Victor thing happens. The wheels kind of fall off a little bit, and it's respectable at the end of the year. They had a more respectable finish. But of the prevailing sentiment at the end of the year, unexpectedly so, is not as high as it was at the start of the season. But if you want to look at it as just the full year through and through, and expecting where they'd be on this schedule in this rebuild, all the major question marks were answered, and not only answered in significant fashion, for the better, for sure.
Absolutely.
Next year now, and we go into the next year now, we still have plenty more question marks about this. A lot of it starting around 1, Victor's health, and 2, the head coach. But we'll see. We'll see. I feel good. I feel good right now.
No, I on the side of things, I think they are ahead of schedule. And I think for me, it starts with Steph Castle. I mean, he's the wild card in all this. And what he did in his rookie season, where the Spurs and fans, you and me, others may be thinking, man, did the Spurs maybe just have a new big 3, Fox, Castle, Wemby, for this rebuild? I think they do. That's a core right there you can build around, and it happened like that. Consider this, Casey, that draft, Castle's draft class, that was considered the weak. These guys, maybe you might get yourself a nice, serviceable guy. That's what it was. But man, look at what Castle did in year 1, and he was the number 4th pick. So not bad. Wemby took off. Fox, at least in 5 games, gave us a glimpse of what he can do with these, with Wemby himself. All signs are pointing well. And I also think another X factor in all this, see where we're going here. X factor is Chris Paul. Whether he's back next season or not, I think that wisdom he gave this team is going to carry over into next season. Is going to push them further ahead of just their own personal player development moving forward. But one thing that's looming that we have not touched on is the NBA draft lottery. Let's talk about that. Does that push this Spurs team, well, ahead of schedule, or maybe like Casey believes they're just on schedule? We're going to be talking about that with Casey Vieira right here on Locked On Spurs. Make sure to follow him on X at Casey_Vieira. But first, I want to talk to you about DoorDash.
NBA fans, get ready. They swoosh, you save. Thanks to Dash Pass, every time a player drops 50 or more points in a game, you score a huge deal the next day. It's simple. When a player scores 50 or more in a game during the 24-25 NBA regular season, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order, up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. Here's why you should take advantage of this deal. Game day feast. After an epic 50-point performance, celebrate your ordering wings, pizza, burgers from your favorite spot delivered straight to your door. Late night cravings, whether you're staying up late watching highlights or just need a midnight snack, use Dash Pass to grab something delicious while saving big. Hey, what about fueling your own watch party? Planning to catch the next game? Order your go-to snacks and meals at a discount and get ready for more high-scoring action. Lunch on the go? Need a quick and easy lunch the next day? Dash Pass gets your favorite meals with $0 delivery fee, reduced service fees. Plus, now you save even more with this exclusive NBA offer. Sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save. When any player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off the order the next day. That's $10 off. Use promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders at participating merchants. Must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more.
Oh, hey, this is Morty Smith and Hot Cheese. You are listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia. Hot Cheese.
And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs. We're joined by Casey Vieira. Follow him on X at Casey_Vieira. You want to do that right now because he might throw a Draymond Green elbow at you if you don't do that. Casey, were you a rough and tumble kind of guy when you're playing the playground?
Nah.
Yeah.
Nah. I mean, I had
more of a Steph Curry style
I
player.
will say this: I never lost a fight as a little kid. I didn't have a whole lot of them. I had like 3, and I never lost.
Look at that. Casey might join the octagon next. You know, who knows?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Don't 100 Caseys do not beat a gorilla.
There you go. Yeah. Again, follow him on X at Casey_Vieira. We are talking about whether or not the Spurs are ahead of schedule or not. Now, why we bring this up? Because so many things have happened. From the De'Aaron Fox trade, Steph Castle's emergence, Wemby being Wemby and getting better, et cetera, et cetera. But one thing we did not talk about is the NBA draft lottery, which is just like in a couple days. So, Casey, before we hit record, you're doing some numbers, and it looks like the Spurs, at least statistically, may land at number 8. They got 2 picks, but there's an outside shot that they could launch into the top 4. Nevertheless, it is what it is. The Spurs basically got 2 high draft picks. Now, if they keep their picks or not, that could push this team either out of the rebuild, ahead of schedule, or maybe you might think keeps them on schedule. Dude, if they flip it for a power player, an established NBA All-Star to bring in now, yeah, that could push them further. If they keep it and bring in some really good young players to add to the core, maybe you're right. Maybe it just keeps them on track. But I think that's another wild card in all this Spurs rebuild. Are they ahead of schedule or not? Because what they could do with those draft picks could really, really push this rebuild ahead of schedule or keep them off par. What do you think?
I think they keep 8, they trade 14.
Okay.
I think that's they keep their own and they trade the Hawks pick.
Okay.
One, because that seems to have been the way things have gone recently. Now that Brian Wright has gotten the keys to the kingdom a little bit, was that you saw it last year with the Dillingham trade at 8, was that he's very much okay with moving out of the lottery to get assets in the future that he actually used, that he ended up using and helping in getting the De'Aaron Fox trade done. My gut tells me that's the way it's working. I think that's, you talk about moving the chips and moving the pieces and putting those chips, I should say, all in the center of the table to probably get in the Giannis sweepstakes. That's probably when you're looking a little bit more interesting, more outside the box.
Right.
I don't think they do that. I don't think they do that. I think they're enamored with what they got out of Steph Castle this past year. I think that they're okay with kind of staying the trajectory of what they are. And, it kind of goes back to that the whether they are on schedule or not, if that is the way to move. But then on the other side of the spectrum, you could say, is the schedule putting yourself in a position, creating these assets to get potentially a star? Because you're a top 30 player all time, top 25 player of all time, rarely becomes available. A top 3 player in the league at the time in his prime rarely becomes available. And if you have a chance, a fighting chance to go out and get that, a realistic chance to go out and get that, that's obviously something that should be explored and be considered. For the sake of calling it the rebuild or not, that's a different conversation in my mind as to whatever which way you frame it. But if we're looking at the ultimate path to success, probably this is not trading for a top 20 player. This is trading for Giannis Antetokounmpo, an NBA champion. Right. Put him and Victor together.
Yeah, forget about it.
That's the best duo in the league. 2 top 7 players.
Yeah.
What the definition is of a rebuild at that point, I don't know. But does that put you in a tremendous spot to win a championship? Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does. Do you have that same train of thought when it comes to a guy like Kevin Durant? There's been rumors linking San Antonio and KD, not just this season, this off season, whatever have you, but even years ago. I think that also factors into, if they do bring in KD, and I'm not going to get into the whole team KD or team no KD among Spurs fans, but just as far as just Kevin Durant, I think he helps push this team a little further close to being a legit playoff contender. So there's that as well. But yeah, even so certainly we got to think about that. Everybody who's watching and tuning in right now is the draft lottery in just a couple of days. What do they do with that? That can push them further or keep them standing pat. I think they flip it. Yeah, then they're making a serious run. If they flip it for an established player, this is them saying, yeah, we're going to start skipping steps now. Let's get out of this rebuild. We want to win now. If they keep the pick, like you think, and maybe trade one, that keeps them on target for whenever they get out of that rebuild. Here's something else I want to bring it up to is with Mitch Johnson now, the official new head coach of your San Antonio Spurs. Technically, by definition, he's a rookie head coach in the NBA. Last year, he was just an interim head coach. Now, he did get a big chunk of experience. He got a lot of on-the-job training. It's not like it was like a Mike Malone where they just, let their coach go and bring in some guy with a month and a half left in the season. Right. No, nothing like that. He got practically like 95% of the season under his belt. Yeah. Do you think him being inexperienced as an NBA head coach, you think that may hold back them a little bit as far as getting out of this rebuild? Because he's going to make his mistakes. He's going to make a lot of mistakes.
He made a lot of mistakes last year. Yeah. The way I see the Mitch Johnson thing, and I understand, I'm a little more in the camp that I'm okay with keeping him, because the way I look at a lot of these head coaching searches when you're bringing in a new guy is we were talking about boxes being checked, and for me a box being checked that's that really resonates is whether that locker room, whether you can have control of that locker room, and that locker room buys in. That locker room buys in. Every one of those guys from start to finish, when they finished the game at the season finale just a couple weeks ago, they were bought in. They advocated for it. And above all else, the biggest advocate for it was Victor. Mm-hmm. Victor says that this is the guy I want to lead the way. That puts a lot of weight into that thought process. And does that work out for the better? I don't know. But I do know that those players believe in Mitch Johnson. Mm-hmm. And those players, that they believe in Mitch Johnson, Mitch Johnson's going to believe in Mitch Johnson, his ability to do it, because he's got the backing from the team. He's obviously got the backing from the organization, because if he didn't, he wouldn't be here anymore.
Sure.
Right. They very easily could have gone out and hired Taylor Jenkins,
right,
a guy with Spurs ties, real Spurs ties, deeper Spurs ties than Mike Malone. I don't think Mike Malone would have been the greatest fit here anyways, because it seems like the knock on him in Denver was his inability to connect with younger players. I don't want to speak for that, but that's I'd always heard. So I think Taylor Jenkins was kind of the guy more suitable for it. That's good competition that Mitch Johnson beat out. That's a lot of faith that Mitch Johnson beat out to get that job. Those are a lot of things in my mind that play very well into his hand to, I guess, rookie head coach by definitions. Inexperienced head coach is what I guess we can call it by definition. That's, I don't know, is that more condescending or less condescending?
No, not at all.
Either way,
it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Either way, I'm okay. I was okay with the hire for the fact that he's had the locker room. He has the continuity experience, being here for years now. And those are two big hurdles the Spurs probably looked at, and they said, if we can get this done, this aspect of the search done, we're going to go with it.
Right.
We're going to go with it. And if we're being real, rookie head coaches, young head coaches right now are on a pretty good run in the NBA.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We're on pretty good over the past decade. We were on a pretty good string of success, big time success. Not implying that they're going to be in the Western Conference Finals next year, but rookie head coaches have been on a pretty good run over the past few years. Just that younger voice that's come in and been able to do some things over the past decade. So that might be a hand in it as well. But I think the overriding point on the Mitch Johnson thing was that if they have faith, which they do, that's going to be the move. And that didn't be the move.
Yeah. And, just to put a bow on all this, I'm in the belief that they are ahead of schedule. For me, what pushed it over was last season. I think even if Pop didn't suffer that stroke or he did, but if Mitch had a full complement of player roster, 100%. I think they're first of all, they're blowing out of the water the win total projection for Vegas. There's no way they're getting about 25-28. No way. And I think they could have had a serious run in the play-in tournament or make it. And I think that's where they were. I would not have been surprised if maybe they snuck in, into the playoff, and for sure maybe they get demolished by OKC. But hey, you got to learn somehow. But my point is, I think, based on last year, Castle's development, Wemby's steps forward, Chris Paul impact, moving forward, I think this team is ahead of schedule. And I think next season they have to take that leap. Enough of the player development. I need to see team development. And the first team development step, they got to, at least at minimum for me, Casey, got to get that play in.
Can I pose one more? I know you have to hit a break here, but can I pose one more question here on the Mitch Johnson front? And it's not, this is more framed as a praise of Mitch Johnson as opposed to an indictment on Pop. But are we entirely sure that Pop does that much better with this roster than Mitch did?
Yeah.
And that's not a flight on Pop, but I'm just going by, this was a 22 win season the year before. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah. I think if Pop didn't have the medical issue, maybe just him gets you about 4 or 5, 3, 4, 5 more wins, because he's not going to do the same rookie mistakes we saw Mitch do. He might have better in-game adjustments, out-of-time out adjustments. So maybe he gets you about 3 or 4 more. But I mean, I don't see he guides his team to the playoffs, even without Wemby and Fox getting injured. No, but I think he does give you a little bit more wins than maybe Mitch does. All right, those are our thoughts on whether or not the Spurs are on schedule or ahead of schedule based on so many things that have happened last year and what's going to happen in just a few days. Make sure to follow Casey on X at Casey_Vieira. You want to do that right now? Leave him your thoughts. What do you think about it? What do you have to say about the topic? And with me, we can go to the Locked On Spurs YouTube page, leave a comment. We'll read it in a future episode of Locked On Spurs. Speaking of that, When we get back, we're going to talk about those Locked On Spurs fan comments and give our thoughts on an exciting NBA playoffs. These playoffs are really, really fun, everybody. All that and more of Casey Vieira. Make sure to, again, follow him on X at Casey_Vieira. But first, I want to talk to you about Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K.
Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub
with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign into the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles, from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 to Avowed. As easy as you stream your favorite shows, it's gaming made simple, and it's on your Fire TV. Endless entertainment with 4K streaming. Watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribed services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and more. Hey, how about affordable and portable gaming? Play high-quality Xbox games at a fraction of the cost than a console. Already have a console? No problem. The Fire TV Stick 4K device is more affordable and easier to travel with, allowing you to take you or your kids' games wherever you plug in. Look, you got to get it right now. The Fire Stick TV 4K can be a game changer. Look, you don't have to have any gaming interest. You can just dive in. And by the way, it's so easy to use, so easy to navigate. This is a great way to even just start playing some gaming and on the Xbox as well. Hey, head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller is required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen.
Autobots, roll out!
And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs, joined by Casey Vieira. Follow on X at Casey_Vieira. You want to do that right now. Hey, let's get into some Spurs fan comments left on the Locked On Spurs YouTube page. And let's dive into the first one here, Casey. And the first one comes from Jacob C3996. He says, yes, they should be. Just gave him the keys to a Lambo. Now, he's referring to the recent of the Locked On Spurs where he asked, is Mitch Johnson basically, does he have high expectations? So according to Jacob C, he says, yeah, there's high expectations for this team to win because, like he said, this is the Lambo/ready-made team. You got some pretty good young players. Who knows what they'll do in the draft lottery? But what do you stand on that? Should there be high expectations for Mitch going into his first rookie coaching season?
I stand on the point that I got ripped on for a couple of weeks ago. It depends on Victor's health. Yeah, it really does. It really depends on Victor's health. If Victor is good, opening night, completely good, healthy, good to go, just like nothing happened at all.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Victor misses an extended period of time. You just can't. Like you can't be over here talking about high expectations if your coach doesn't have a top 10 player, his top 10 player in the league that's with him. You can't put a full You just can't put a full grade on that if you don't have said Lambo, like he was talking about there. I think I think that's question is incomplete yet, or answer still TBD, if you will. It just comes down to Victor's health.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm there with you. I think if he has a full, look, I get it. Injuries going to happen next season. It's just part of the deal. All right.
Yeah.
But for the most part, if he has a consistent unit group, nothing major health-wise to these players just doesn't happen, then yeah, I think there are expectations for this. And also, too, even if it was still Popovich, next season, I think there'll still be expectations because 6 years of a play-in, playoff drought, that ain't cutting it. So that's got to stop, and it hopefully stops next season with Mitch. All right, the next question comes from Nick Matt 35. He says, I hear the assistant coaching job just opened. He's being silly, because of Mitch Johnson's promotion.
All right.
How about this? He says, CP3 maybe. What do you think about CP3 as an assistant coach with the Spurs next to Mitch Johnson, a guy that he vouched for? I don't know if CP3 is ready for him in his career to hang it up quite yet, even with the Spurs or not. So I'm going to say no. I don't think CP3 is an assistant coach next season.
Well, not only that, and you see this with Hall of Famers all the time, they have they have a hard time connecting as head coaches sometimes. And you see it in a lot of sports that it just doesn't work because it's not entirely, they're not entirely relatable. Maybe, perhaps it could, because so far you've seen everywhere Chris Paul has gone, the team has responded as well. But for the most part, with a lot of these Hall of Fame players, the only guy who's, I'm just thinking about it right off the bat, bona fide all-star Hall of Famer, is Chauncey Billups in the Hall of Fame? I think
I think he is.
It's Chauncey Billups. Either way, borderline. If he's not in the Hall of Fame, borderline Hall of Famer Chauncey Billups. He appears to be, at least in the most recent wave of coaches, like the superstar that has at head coach that has worked out the most. But even then, that's still a little to be determined. So between that and I think Chris Paul still wants to play one more year, and said he wants to play one more year. I would say no.
Yeah. Well, the good thing about it is that Spurs coaching staff are pretty open for players to come on once they're done playing, to join the staff. Look at Ime Udoka, Monty Williams, Becky Hammond. Who else we're missing here? There's tons of them. We just look at Pop's coaching tree. You'll probably find a few former players joining the squad. Even Darius Sangalia. That was the most recent. Yeah. So there's that. Hey, hopefully the Spurs will be in the playoffs next season, crossing fingers, or at least very, very soon. But nevertheless, Casey, man, exciting times in the NBA postseason. From the Cavs being down right now, 0-2. No, the mighty Cavs, from the mighty freaking Boston Celtics down 0-2 to the Knicks, and Denver, scaring OKC in game 1, but then getting thrashed in game 2. It's just an exciting time right now. I think the NBA is doing really well right now. This is good for the league right now to have these upsets, competitive so far. Your thoughts?
They needed it. They needed it for sure. They took a lot of heat this year with the ratings being down, and understandably, deservedly so. They needed a playoff. That it's just been home runs so far. Big market team. Well, I guess not the Lakers, but the big market teams are there. They're prevalent. The stars are there. They're prevalent. There's enough to talk about on social media with it every single night. And we're only halfway into this thing. Silver's loving it. Silver's loving it, especially when you're going into a new year with a new brand.
Yep.
And a chance to really endear people to that product. Like Adam Silver is just, he's been loving this. Yeah.
Loving it. Yeah. From Halliburton, knocking down those game winners to, it's Brunson being Brunson, Joker being Joker in game 1, and the Thunder, we're in game 2. I'm thinking, that's the Thunder I know. That's the team that just wrecks people. It's been an exciting time in the NBA postseason. Hopefully, again, the Spurs can join them. So I'm definitely loving the NBA playoffs right now, and hopefully it continues. We talk about the Warriors Wolves game. Now you got Steph Curry not playing, for a few games because of a hamstring injury. So we'll see what the Wolves do with that. But exciting times in the NBA postseason. Again, hopefully the Spurs will be there ASAP. He is Casey Vieira. Make sure to follow him on X at Casey_Vieira. You want to do that right now. Quick note: next week, Casey will be filling in for me. I believe on Tuesday, right, Casey? Yes. Yeah. You're filling it on Tuesday.
Day after the draft lottery. So we'll have the draft lottery to talk about.
There you go. Yeah, so Casey will be taking the Locked On Spurs reins for a night. And it's not uncommon. He does that every time I need a day off or something like that. Yeah. Casey steps in. So look forward to that. But we got draft lottery next week. We're doing draft lottery preview to start the week. So a lot fun times ahead for yourself or in black. And we thank y'all for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Free and available wherever you get podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Kensby, plus at YouTube. Go there right now. Leave a comment. We're reading a future episode of Locked On Spurs. And you guys are the everydayers. Keep on coming here every day to Locked On Spurs. Casey, thank you again for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us here on Los. But for Casey Vieira, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.